Issues in Education continues. Here's your moderator, John Carney, on KTRS.
All right, welcome back. Filling in for Martin. And to be honest, the feedback I have gotten from the Ittner people and the folks from the Missouri School Board Association, I think Martin's pretty much lost this job. So I think we'll be doing this every month from now on. We are live at Tantera and the Missouri School Board Association annual conference taking place, which gives us a unique opportunity to talk to all of these people who have come together to talk about this very thing of education and the Issues in Education Roundtable we bring you each month on the Big 550 KTRS, brought to you by Ittner Architects. All right, we move to learning standards and testing, and boy, this one can be confusing. We have Dr. Vic Lenz with us from the Missouri State Board of Education. Doctor, thank you for being with us. Also, Gerry Lee, a board member from Springfield, who will talk about standards and learning. Also, Mees, who's a board member also from Columbia, Missouri, and Chris Hahn, superintendent from Poplar, Bluff. Thank you very much, all of you, for giving up your time. You're missing a conference or a buffet or something right now, so thank you for making time. I got so many questions. With 4 kids ranging from kindergarten to a sophomore in college, I've constantly had someone in the educational program, and the standardized testing almost seems to change annually, which kind of defies the definition of standard. So who wants to tackle this? Start with, why does it keep changing? Nobody wants it. Okay. I don't blame you.
Let's start with standardized testing statewide or in an individual district.
Right.
Individual districts in classrooms are constantly assessing student progress and achievement by some state statute or No Child Left Behind, whatever the law was. We have to have a content state assessment.
Is it a mandate of the federal government of, you will have this much reading, you will have this much math, we need 75% of the people to read at this grade level, or we're not giving you money?
It's a mandate from the federal government that the state has a certain amount of statewide testing. That does not amount to any more than 8 hours for any one student in any one year. The rest of the testing that goes on is done at the district level.
I don't want to fuel the conspiracy theorist, but I have read things, and I don't know how factual it is, but that some of these tests get changed to reflect better grades, to make a district or a school look as though their kids are smarter than they actually are.
Well, I don't think that's the case in Missouri. Missouri has always been rigorous in their assessments. We've dealt with No Child Left Behind for quite a few years now, and everybody had to meet certain advanced and proficients. What we've dealt with is that some states that's an easier bar than others, but Missouri, in my career, has always been one of the top 4 as far as rigorous assessments. So, and that started with Dr. Kent King. Whenever I was in, he wanted to set the bar high. Our state assessments, even the old ones, were probably in the top 5 as far as rigorous.
That's right.
And so you can feel confident, I think, with the tests that we've had, that if we say in Missouri this kid is proficient, he is.
Is it a good thing that this is a state-by-state deal? Because it's just important for little Johnny from Columbia, Missouri, to be as smart as someone from Bakersfield, California.
And that was the reasoning, or one of the top reasons, but behind the Common Core standards when they went, that we had a standard nationally for what's college and career ready, and that's a pro, but in some cases politically that's a con, because they see it as too much federal control, and we've been caught in the middle of that for 3 years at least.
I say this with a little bit of embarrassment. I was not even familiar with Common Core as it pertained to math, so I looked it up. I watched a video on YouTube, and it showed how the numbers actually mean something different, and it reminded me of the Marianists who took a shot at learning me back in the day, of diagramming sentences, which, like Latin, really later in my life, never came in handy. Why are they changing the way that 2 + 2 comes to 4? because as a parent, it's embarrassing for me when I got a 7-year-old that I can't help with their homework.
Actually, John, what you're talking about there is curriculum. The standards do not dictate how it's taught. They dictate what is supposed to be taught. It's up to the school district then to determine the curriculum that is how the children will actually be, things they will actually be taught.
But why have they even changed it at all?
Well, I think in this day and age, problem solving is not 2 + 2 = 4. You have to decide different ways to get to the right answer. You have to collaborate. You have to have creative thinking. And I think the frustration you feel as a parent is sometimes heard throughout many school districts, but it's having kids look at things in different ways. Would you agree?
Yeah, every child learns differently.
And they're wired differently than we were as kids.
Absolutely. And so trying to adapt curriculum to each child as best you can, but still accomplishing the same goal, the same standard, so that when that child is done, he's proficient in whatever task that may be.
We already tackled financial ends of things, but as we talk about the testing part, how does that budget belt tightening cut into the way you do the standardized testing? Can you issue as many as you used to? Can you go as deep, Chris, as you once did if there's not as much money there anymore?
But we're going to have to because it's a requirement.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's when you look at things you're going to cut, you're not going to cut that because it's a requirement. It has been online testing has been a challenge. We're lucky enough in our district that we have one-to-one technology 7 through 12. But I see online testing is going to stick around. So that's a to be able to do that. That's a tax on school districts' budgets because they have to prepare for it.
These things get tweaked on a pretty regular basis, and I know there is a committee that's been eyeing that and looking at that, making a recommendation to the state. I don't think the state has made a decision yet because, correct me if I'm wrong on this, aren't you just about to present those findings to the state?
Yes, we are.
Can we get a preview? I'll buy you coffee.
They're a little complex, let me tell you.
Yeah,
House Bill 1490, which was passed in 2014, set up those working groups to look at the existing Missouri standards. And so that process has been going on now for a year, almost a year. And recommendations by the working group were turned in this week, in fact, to the State Board of Education to review. And then there'll be a public hearing later this month,
October 26th,
that will look at all 8 working groups' product for new Missouri learning standards. And that process has been going on for the last 8 or 9 months.
So at what point will they make their determination?
May.
The final determination will be in March.
In March?
In March of next year.
And they have to be in place for next school year of 2016-17. The new standards will be in place.
And these standards affecting all kids, or at what point does the testing actually begin age-wise?
Third
grade?
Third grade.
Why? Why not a first grader? I mean, obviously it's going to be a different test.
Reading,
basically the ability to take the tests, to give an answer, to respond to the test in a way that can be standardized.
Has it changed if we looked at the last decade of standardized testing in the state of Missouri? Would a test disseminated a decade ago look remotely familiar to what we see now?
I think it would. I mean, I think there's some strong standards that went on. Now we're working through the Missouri Learning Standards, which would come out of Common Core, but there's some items that third graders have been doing for a long time, fourth graders have been doing for a long time. Arranging them where they're at in the curriculum, that's changed a little bit, but I think you'd see a lot of good things.
The biggest difference in testing that you would notice is that the kids aren't taking the test on paper and pencil anymore. They're taking it on a computer.
Sure, give them a joystick and they'll be done in 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, the kids adapt to that a lot quicker than we would.
You guys have all poured over the numbers, and you looked at areas in which we excel. You looked at areas in which we're deficient. So going forward, for the average student in the state of Missouri, what are the biggest challenges that they're looking at right now?
Well, first off, they're going to be using different standards, perhaps. Secondly, we've had a different progression of tests, so we can't really compare the tests of 2014 to what's going to be coming up in 2017 because everything is different. So you can compare your own child, but when you're looking as the group as a whole, there's just a lot of variables that we can't get consistency yet.
Right. And I probably shouldn't say this, and I'll deny it if you tell anybody, but you guys have been my favorite group so far.
Oh, we could stay later.
And you have the biggest name tags. The name tags keep getting bigger and bigger, so I'm getting really, really important people as we go along. Dr. Vic Lenz, Gerry Lee, Mrs. Jan Mees, and Chris Hahn joining us in our Issues in Education Roundtable. We are at the annual conference of the Missouri School Board Association for the Roundtable, brought to you by Ittner Architects. And we have more to come, and when we come back, we move to achieving results in early childhood education. And you'll meet some more panelists in just a moment on the Big 550 KTRS.